My wife told me her friends would not come to our wedding if we had one now. We were already married. That was how I found out she'd spent years telling them the worst parts of me. I'm 31. My wife, Marin, is 30. We have been together for 8 years and married for 2. For most of that time, I thought we were good. Not perfect. No couple is, but good. We paid bills together, moved cities together, sat beside each other in hospital waiting rooms, built furniture that almost ended our relationship twice, had the kind of ordinary life that does not look dramatic from the outside. The problem was never one huge fight. It was the way small conversations turned into trials. If I brought something up, Marin heard an accusation. If I said I felt hurt, she heard blame. If I asked why something happened, she heard me calling her a bad person. Then the conversation stopped being about the issue. It became about how my issue made her feel. The most ridiculous example was pasta. Marin said she was hungry and wanted to order dinner. I asked what she was thinking of getting. She said she did not know. 40 minutes later, the doorbell rang. She had ordered pasta for herself. I was not angry. I was disappointed. I said, "Oh, you ordered already. I didn't know." She immediately said, "You didn't ask for anything." I said, "I didn't know you had decided." She said, "I thought you ate earlier." I said, "I would have ordered with you if I knew." That should have been the whole conversation. Instead, she got defensive. She said I was making her feel selfish. I said I was just asking her to tell me next time. She said, "So now I need permission to order food?" I said, "No, I wanted to be considered." By the end of it, I was apologizing, not for being hungry, not for wanting food, for making her feel attacked. That became our pattern. I would bring up something small. She would react like I had put her on trial. I would calm her down. Then somehow I would be the one apologizing. For a while, I thought I was bad at communicating, so I tried harder. I softened my tone. I waited for better moments. I used I feel statements. I repeated back what she said before giving my own point. I even wrote down things I wanted to discuss so I would not ramble. None of it mattered. The second she felt criticized, the door shut. To be fair, Marin tried too. Sometimes after a fight, she would come back hours later and say she understood what I meant. She would admit she reacted too fast. She would say, "You can tell me things. I want you to trust me." And I wanted to believe that. But trust is not built by what someone says after they cool down. It is built by what happens the next time you need them to hear you. Then came the pregnancy scare. Marin missed her period. We had been talking about trying for a baby eventually, but we had not officially started. She took a test, negative, then another, negative. Still, for about a week, everything felt fragile. We talked about what we would do if it happened sooner than planned. We talked about money, appointments, work schedules. For a few days, I felt close to her. Then something strange happened. She had an appointment with her doctor. I offered to drive her. She said no, it was routine and not worth me missing work. Later that day, I saw a picture on her phone while she was showing me something else. It was not private. It flashed on the screen, a waiting room selfie. She was sitting beside a guy I did not recognize. I asked who he was. She froze just for a second. Then she said, "That's Adrian. He's a friend from work." I said, "You went with him?" She said, "He was nearby." I said, "You told me you went alone." She said, "I didn't want you to make it weird." That sentence did something to me because I had not made anything weird yet. I had asked one question. She had already decided my reaction would be a problem. I asked why she did not tell me. She said she knew I would overthink it. I asked why his name had never come up before. She said he was not important. I asked why someone not important was at a medical appointment when her husband was told not to come. She said, "See, this is exactly why I didn't tell you." Again, the conversation became about my reaction, not her lie. My reaction. I did not accuse her of cheating. I did not yell. But I did say, that was not okay. She said, "You're acting like I betrayed you." I said, "You lied about who was with you." She said, "Because I knew you would act betrayed." I said, "That is not a defense. That is the thing I'm upset about." For 2 days, we barely spoke. Then I asked if we could sit down and talk without phones. She said yes. I thought maybe this time would be different. It was worse. I asked her to explain who Adrian was. She said he was a friend. I asked why she hid him. She said she did not hide him. I said, "You said you went alone." She said, "I didn't think it mattered." I said, "Then why did you say it?" She started crying. She said she could not handle feeling like I did not trust her. I said, "I want to trust you. That is why I am asking for the truth." She said, "If you trusted me, you wouldn't need to ask." I said, "No, trust does not mean I pretend a lie didn't happen." That was the first time I did not apologize just to end the fight. She noticed. The next week, we had dinner with her friends. I did not know they knew anything. I thought it was just dinner. But halfway through, one of them made a joke about husbands who think every male coworker is a threat. Everyone laughed except me. Marin looked down. I realized then that she had told them, not the whole story, not that she lied about Adrian, just enough to make me look insecure. On the drive home, I asked what she had told them. She said, "I needed support." I said, "Did you tell them you lied?" She said, "Nothing." I said, "Did you tell them you brought another man to an appointment and told your husband you went alone?" She said, "I didn't bring him like that. You're twisting it." I said, "No, I am adding the part you left out." That night, she finally admitted her friends did not like me. Not all of them, but enough. She said they thought I was controlling. She said some of them would not feel comfortable attending a future ceremony if we ever renewed our vows. I asked, "Based on what?" She said, "Things I've told them." That was the turning point because suddenly our private fights had an audience I did not know existed, an audience that had been hearing one side for years. I said, "So every time we had a fight, you gave them the version where I made you cry." She said, "I never lied." I said, "Leaving out your part is still shaping the story." She said, "I needed someone to talk to." I said, "And now your friends hate the person you chose to marry." She said that was not fair. I said, "What happens when we have kids? Do you tell them I'm unsafe because I ask questions?" She said, "You're being dramatic." I said, "No, I am looking at the pattern." For once, she did not have a fast answer. Update 1. Marin apologized about Adrian. Not perfectly, but more clearly than before. She said she should not have lied. She said she panicked because she knew I would be uncomfortable. I told her discomfort was not the same thing as control. She said she understood. I do not know if she does. Update 2. I asked her to stop discussing our fights with friends who already dislike me unless she is willing to tell the full story. She said that felt like I was isolating her. I said, "You can have support, but support based on half truths is not support. It is a jury." She did not like that. I still meant it. Update 3. I started therapy on my own, not because I think everything is my fault, because I need to understand why I apologize so quickly when someone else gets upset. My therapist asked me what I am afraid will happen if I stop smoothing things over. I said, she'll leave. Then I realized how tired I was. Maureen and I are still together, but things are different. I do not bring up every small thing anymore, not because everything is fine, because I am choosing carefully. And that scares me because when you start editing yourself to keep peace, peace becomes just another kind of silence. I love my wife. I believe she loves me. I also believe she learned somewhere that accountability feels like danger. And I learned somewhere that someone else's distress means I should surrender my own point. Those two habits fit together badly. I am not asking for a marriage where I am always right. I am asking for one where bringing up a problem does not automatically make me the problem. Maybe I should have trusted her more. Maybe she should have been honest sooner. Maybe we both need to learn how to hear each other without preparing a defense. But I know this: if every hard conversation ends with me apologizing for having feelings, then eventually I will stop bringing them to her at all. And I do not know if a marriage can survive that kind of quiet.